Okay, welcome once again to Philosophy Online Lecture. We are still on philosophy and culture, and here we'll be looking at the theories of culture change. And when we talk about the theories of culture change, we are talking about various positions put out by anthropologists and various philosopher scholars on why we have culture change. Okay, what are those things that account for the changes that we see in different culture? Okay, so now we are going to be looking at least four theories of culture change. The first one is the evolution theory. Okay, now this evolution theory is stating that a culture change happens when there is it is not as if the people are the contact with other culture, but it is internally generated. The people just had that instinct to have a change within their culture, right? And then this was explained in the previous uh, video where we talked about the manifestations of culture change. Okay, so now this idea was popularly uh, advanced when uh, Albert Spencer adopted Charles Darwin theory of the origin of species. You know, Charles Darwin said talked about biological evolution, where from anthropod monkeys and so on, but Albert Spencer went further by saying that it's not only biological progress but also sociocultural progress. Okay, so it is not only a system where an ape turned through process turned to a man. There was also some sociocultural events, right, happenings that prompted a change, right, in the culture. And that is the position of Albert Spencer. I think he explained it by saying the those ape gradually, when the forests were evading, they were now walking, and then when they came into contact each other, they realized the need for communicating. That was how language came into existence, stuff like that. That was the position of Albert Spencer. Okay, so now uh, there's also another philosopher, Fraser, who said that uh, the principle of psychic unity of humanity, right? He mentioned this in cultural change. And what this mean is that the social institutions and customs were assumed to be products of sociocultural evolutionary factors. Now, let me explain this. They are saying that, we are still on the fact that culture originated internally. Now all these social institutions that we have, like religion, like education and so on, they are products of sociocultural evolution. Okay, so that is what is actually saying. Like the schools we have now are a result of having knowledge and ideas in our society. Now, to transmit them, we need schools. Okay, our religious belief emanated from our supposition that there is an higher being. Okay, so now those are not influenced, right, but sociocultural evolution, right? Okay, so the second one we're looking at is the innovation theory, and this position is saying that the diversity of human culture, the change, is found mainly in invention and partly by diffusion. We talked about diversion in the next video, where various culture come into contact with each other. Okay, now according to Whistler, a philosopher, he said this diffusion is natural when it is based on chance contact. That is, it is not deliberate, right? Now, an example of this is our change of mindset towards certain belief. Okay, is not that we are deliberate about it, but due to our daily experiences. Okay, or we can say our unconscious acts of moderacy in the way we eat, the way we walk. Like for example, you might watch an Asian movie for 3 days back to back, and the next day you discover that you unconsciously you're already trying to act to speak like an Asian. Okay, so this is what he's trying to say. Now, the other one is organized, and this is when we are deliberately having a purposive transfer of our cultural traits, right? Okay. So now moving on, when we talk about invention, new inventions could also prompt a culture change. Like for example, Dr. Digby used here that a blacksmith who invented a new machine for farming, right? That new machine will also have effects in a new way of in which the farmer plow the ground in their pattern of plowing and so on, right? When we have that hoe and cutlass, the way they make ridges is different from when they use a tractor. Okay, so that is what he is trying to say here. That is on invention, right? Now the third theory is the historicalist view, and this one is simple. They're saying that every culture we have today can there's always a specific historical circumstances that led to that culture that we have today. Okay, now if you hear that some people say in our family we don't eat this particular meal, it could be traced to maybe one of their forefather ate that thing and something bad happened to him. Okay, so that is the historicalist view. Like for the Jewish who practice the Passover, they can trace it back to the day the angel made a sign of blood, right? And since then, they have been practicing the Passover. Okay, so why we observe Democracy Day today, it is because of the events that happened when military transited power to a federal system of government. Okay, so for every culture we have, there is always that historical connection. Okay, and the diffusion element in culture change itself represents a historical process of spread of certain culture after its origin. Okay, so I'm quoting Dr. Adedigbe here. Okay, so the origin, when we trace every culture, they always have that particular origin. Okay, and so we still have them to date because there is always need for continuity, right? And then development, growth, diversification of that culture. Okay. The fourth one, which is the fourth one I'll be looking at is the functionalist theory, and these ones are saying that a culture is necessary if it is found useful by the people. Okay, this is one importance or one reason why we have culture change. Okay, now for example, we discover that learning is very, very important to pass on knowledge from generation to generation. Okay, so that the culture of learning was inculcated in the society. Now family planning is another culture we got from the Europeans, but we found out that it is very, very useful for us to control population, right? And the economy will also be able to cover for the amount of people available, right? So that is the functionalist approach. That is what they are saying. That is what the functionalist theorists are saying. That as long as that culture fulfills a useful function, then it is necessary for that society to hold it for their own survival. Okay. Now the fifth one, which I'll be adding, is the transformation theory. Right. Now this is associated with Malinowski. Okay, now, he was the one that rejected the diffusionist and historicalist approach of culture change. Okay, so he is saying that those theories cannot be controlled scientifically when we want to study change. Okay, his own position now is that the culture change that we have is based on the interaction of institutions. For example, in Africa, the European institutions and our system have interacted, and because they interacted, they have been an influence on each other, right? And this influence has produced conflict, cooperation, and compromise. Like conflicts in the terms of religion, right? Some people are accepting their religion, some people are not, right? Cooperation in terms of policies, right? We have been able to build our own political system with their own, right? We still have the kings like before, but we have their federal system also, right? Compromise in the sense of the exchange of resources. When they colonized us, we know how they exploited us, and we were not left with so many options that to compromise on ourselves, right? Okay, so those are the five major theory of culture change. Okay, now uh, looking at all these theories that we have explained, when we do a critical analysis, we discover that one of those theories is not enough to explain culture change. Sometimes we might need to look at two of the a measure of the two theories of those five mentioned in order to explain culture change. Okay, because we can't be narrow our study to only one of those theory. Okay, so that is on the theories of culture change. Thank you so much for listening. Kindly subscribe and turn on notification. God bless you.